everyone, to Textiles and Tea with the Handweavers Guild of America. I'm Kathy Group. I get to be your host today. We want to welcome you all during this holiday season for joining us. We want to thank our sponsor today, Lisa Schweitzer. Thank you, Lisa. Lisa's one of our Textiles and Tea angels. She comes in and sponsors these episodes, and we are so grateful. Thank you, Lisa. As always, we ask you to put your questions in the Q&A and not in the chat. I can't see them if they're in the chat always, and I know I'll see them in the Q&A, and we'll get to as many of them as we can today. Today we have Tina Linville. Now, sorry about that. Tina is an artisan who works at the intersection of fiber, sculpture, and installation. She holds a BFA in sculpture from the University of Washington and an MFA in fibers from California State University at Long Beach. And she teaches fiber of art in the Department of Art and Art History at Baylor University in Texas. Her work has been included in exhibition projects with Textiles Arts LA, the Handweavers Guild of America. You've seen her in some of our exhibits. The Sam and Alfreda Malouf Foundation and Craft in America and the Surface Design Association. She received the 2024 Best of Fiber Award in the Materials Hard plus Soft Contemporary Craft Exhibition. That is so much about her work. I can't wait because we're going to talk about that soft and hard. And it participated in the 2025 International Residency Boundary Crossings Artist and Interfaith Dialogue in Missouri, India. Hey, Tina. It is so good to have you here today.
Hi, I'm so
Hey,
happy.
Tina. Well, let's start with a really tough question. What is your favorite tea?
I love that we start with an easy question because it just kind of can warm up. So I am very excited to share my love of chai tea.
Me too.
We had it when I was in India this
Oh, I
summer. We had
bet.
it every day at multiple times a day, and it just reminds me of that time and just what a meaningful experience it was to be in India this past summer.
Now, I have a question for you. Being a chai lover, I've never had Indian chai. Is American chai anything like Indian chai?
It is a little different. And I'm still like I keep trying to figure it out. And I don't think it doesn't taste exactly the same, but
Uh-huh.
you're just mixing spices in a pot, cooking them with black tea.
There you
It's
go.
not like the chai latte that you have at Starbucks.
Yeah,
It's
yeah.
way better. It's so good.
It is good. It is good. So tell us, how did you get started in fiber?
Yeah. So my artistic training started at the University of Washington, where I studied sculpture. I didn't even know that fiber was a thing that I could get into at that point. I was really enamored with space and thinking about how that felt like such the ultimate material. And then I started using nylon stockings when I was in undergrad. And from using that fiber material and just being so um, excited by how complex it was, all
Mhm.
the ways that it brought such a complex mix of conversations to my work. And even just materially, how strong it was. I was stacking chairs and using nylon stockings and just pinning them. I didn't even think to sew them. I was just stacking them together and pinning them, and they would hold
Really?
these ridiculous pieces of furniture together in one mass. So I was just like enamored with this material. So when I went to grad school, I applied to both sculpture and fiber programs. And all the fiber programs were like, come here, come play with us. So it just felt right. And
Uh-huh.
I ended up going to Cal State Long Beach, where I got to learn about fiber with Carol Shaw Sutton. I feel like fiber, what I love about like the crafts and fiber is just it's part of this like story of lineage. Like
Uh-huh.
I learned from Carol. Maybe there's people in the call here that know Carol and also learned from her. She's like the birth of like fiber in my life, changed my life forever. And then I get to be part of that story with my students. It's kind of this chain of lineage, which I think is so amazing and beautiful. So that's the short answer. Um,
Well, I'm sure we're going to get into it more, but it's really, when we look at your work, we're going to see how it is sculpture and fiber together. It's like you really shouldn't have had to make a choice because it is both, absolutely, and wonderfully done. And one of the things that I read about you had been talking about in another interview is that you're always trying to figure out that fine line between abstraction and representational for your work. Since some of your work has representational things, like this one has a bicycle tire in it. So it is representational on one hand, but it really has a lot of much more abstract. So which is more predominant for you? Which is more important for you, if either one are, the representational or the abstract?
I think the beauty of an artwork is that it can have a really complex conversation that pulls on a lot of really almost opposite things at the same time, and it can somehow be both.
Mhm.
So I don't even have like the answer is I don't have to choose. The more comfortable I get in my skin as an artist, I realize that it can be both in a really productive way and talk about really complex, profound way things through tapping into both. And another thing I'm thinking about a lot lately is just how, as much as it's about my voice and all the things that come into its making, it's as much about yours as the viewer. When I put something in a space, I'm inviting you. It's an invitation for you to engage. And I like that it can be both because that creates more space for more engagement from a variety of perspectives. So if it's abstract to you, awesome. And if that's a way into like how those boundaries kind of get a little complicated, yay, I'm a winner. Um, and then if it's the other route, if it's helpful to think, okay, this is a bicycle, this is stacked precariously, this is a box. I wonder what these objects mean together. If that is the way that your brain works, welcome. I'm glad you're here. The work really can situate in both, and I love that. I love that so much about how art functions.
Well, that leads me into my next question, which is about whether someone views your work as abstract or representation or whatever. It's definitely open to interpretation. So this next piece, this one's a good example of it too, because I'm sitting here thinking what it looks like. Um, this next piece is another one that's really open to interpretation. So, and you've talked some about it that you don't really care, but that you do want people to come away with it with an idea or a feeling or a concept. Is that true or?
Yeah. I think that art has this beautiful gift of meeting us where we're at and
Mhm.
offering something more. So I love like this is one of my favorite sculptures. I love to see it in this talk.
Oh, good.
This sculpture is called Pet because of how I feel about it. I love it like I love my dog, and I don't know why I love it so much. It's this size and scale of my dog Judy, and it's a story of these materials. This is actually a sculpture that was three different sculptures that I combined together to make a new sculpture through some sculpture surgery.
Oh, really?
So there's three different sculptures that have shown in shows that have a history and a story, just like we have histories and stories. So there's a lot about this work that's about transformation, that it's about um, just these metaphors that fiber can hold for our human stories. It's about learning how to look and engage with curiosity. There's layers and layers of things for you to engage with. This
How
is
now?
about just my life, and that fabric I made in a demo in my class. That was like just the catch-all fabric for me to clean my brush. And
Oh,
here it is,
really?
be honored
The
in this.
color and the pieces with the color?
Yeah. Yeah, that red
Oh.
splotchiness, that's just like me cleaning my brush in a demo, talking about direct application strategies with a piece of fabric. Um, so
Now,
yeah.
how big is this piece,
Oh, it's probably about 30
roughly?
inches, something like that, like th 30 inches by 30 inches once it's kind of
Okay.
at its peak. So it's a tabletop kind of scale, which is a typical scale of my recent sculptural production.
Well, I think that's interesting because this next piece is called Endeavor. And I just, it's kind of the same thing that you said. I fell in love with this one. I just loved it. And I think because to me it felt playful, that I just thought it was going to walk over and say hello. It has a pretty bow on it and everything. And then I found out the name of it and realized it was about the space station or the space shuttle. And so are you, and I'm sure that is not what you meant it to be, is walk over and say hello to me. So does it ever disappoint you or surprise you when somebody interprets it completely different than what you had planned?
It does not make me sad in any way at all.
Oh, good.
It makes me happy that you were engaging with it and it
Uh-huh.
connected to you. That is winning. But I think you also, even in that engagement, you're getting at some key themes in the work. This work, I am very, very serious about play. Playfulness as an adult, like team play, like this is a critical part of what it means to be human to me, is to playfully engage with the world around me and be open to the surprise. I feel like I'm trying really hard to keep all the knowledge of what I know as an adult, but be 8 years old at the same time. And that's a
Mhm.
prize. I'm so inspired by the way that kids engage with art. I think they could teach us. Like they have none of the fears that we have around. Like there's like something strange that happens in a gallery space where we suddenly are not smart enough to engage, which is ridiculous. Kids know how to do it. So my best viewers are kids, and I aspire to be like them. And you also said something about the prettiness of it. Like, yes, I care what it looks like. I care, but I can care both about what it's about and the ideas that inspired the work, thinking about the beyondness of space exploration. I can care about that and try to imagine that in a playful, kid-like way. And I can also care about like the way the color is layering and the what happens when if I apply a layer of opaque material over a nylon that almost makes that color look always wet. So it's like really vibrant, and I can layer things in such a way that I can control like this like revealing and concealing in the work as I learn more and more how to use my materials. So what while you're imagining like this is not being relevant, it's 100% relevant. Um, so amazing. Thank you for looking so closely and engaging. That makes me really happy.
Well, tell us about the piece itself and why it is called Endeavor.
Yeah, well, this whole show was a collaborative exhibition in LA in I wrote it down, 2016. So it was a show with me and a painter, and I had the space on the floor and he had the space on the walls. So I was thinking about his work and mine and how they related, and I was just thinking about the expo like I thought of all these sculptures as being about some kind of beyondness, something I called this group of sculptures in my head the beyonds. So it's just about this like hopeful, optimistic, um, almost audacious idea that we can do it, we can explore, we can there's more out there and we want to know. This curiosity that I think is really important part of what it means to be human. And I just wanted to kind of look at and think about um, playfully engaging with what would this spaceship, how would I make a spaceship? How could I make a spaceship out of this pile of junk in my studio? How could I think about just like how different parts of the spaceship fall off at a certain point in to get it upright, and all the innovation that it took for humans to figure out how to make this thing go into space in these very hostile conditions, which I think talks a lot about what I love about textiles. They're a story of how humans figured out in ingenious ways how to live on this earth and how to tell their stories and how to
Mhm.
identify who they are. So I love some of those parallels, and I just was kind of in a intuitive, playful way um, building a spaceship.
I feel like I say this all the time, but again, I wish I could see it in real life. To see the detail and the effervescence and all that you're talking about. Pictures are great, but they're just pictures. So I wish I could see more of it and um, see it up close and personal. Well, we're going to show a detail of it because and I don't know if I should ask this question. I don't mean it for it to be an insult or anything. Was that I was like, Endeavor. I remember Endeavor, but I don't remember that much about it. So I Googled it to learn more about what was Endeavor. And they talked about how it was a time when the whole space endeavor itself was trying to, I think, stay on track, but they didn't get funding and this, that, and the other. So they said they used a lot of the parts that they had used originally in the previous space shuttle. And I thought about how you incorporate things that have been used for other things into your work. Was that something that you were aware of when you were working on this? Does that parallel your work, or am I out in left field?
No, I love that extra layer of meaningfulness that can come into the work through that history. And I also think that you Googling something is also success, like amazing. The art is doing something because your curiosity is leading you to take
Yeah.
an action in the world. That's so great. So I love this question as a space for me to talk a little bit about materials because I think materials are a really important part of the meaningfulness of the work. So some of the things I think are unique or interesting about the way that I'm using materials is this non-hierarchical approach to materials. So there are things that I made and labored over for a very long time. Like a lot of the fabric is dyed, everything starts white, but so there's things that I make that I weave, I do all the fiber things that people on this call love. But then I also throw a bucket in there, but I love the bucket too. And I paint like, so a bucket and a weaving hold the same value in the work. And I think that can be a strange sensation. Um, and then like something could be found, like I just find it on the street or someone gives it to me or I buy it at a dollar store. And all of these different economic systems coalesce here and everything is reverenced because of this context we have where we get to look at things and say this matters and this is what it means to be human. This is culture. In this space, that critical space of the gallery, we can talk about it. So I love all of that mess coming together in the work. And yes, used material is amazing. And I love pre-owned things because they have a story in them already that's
Yeah, yeah,
it's
yeah.
better than what I can build. I can't make that story that richly, but I can curate these stories together and really have this layered feeling that is full of meaning. Even if we don't know what it is, we feel that someone loved that thing, that shoe someone wore, so, and we can feel that in the object. So it's not even like yes, a picture can never capture that, but like in the room, it radiates that. It has a presence the way that we have a presence when we're together in a room talking to each other. It's powerful. So I really do care a lot about sustainability and reused materials as much as I can, and the story of how all these materials connect to a moment in my life when this chance magic situation occurred where you and I crossed paths and that shoe entered the story of the work and that demo happened in my class and all of that comes together in the work. And the more that you follow the work over time, the more that you know me, there's added richness in what happens in looking.
Well, I want to ask you something. It has nothing to do with anything other than my curiosity, is that these are shoe forms. Were these used to make shoes?
Oh, these are actual shoes. These are straight up shoes.
Are they
Um,
really?
yeah, I feel like one of the shoes, like maybe I even wore, like one of them might have been my old
Really?
shoe.
Oh, I thought they were like wooden shoe forms that you
Well,
made shoes out of.
they're a shoe inside of a nylon and then painted with material. So it has
Oh, see,
very
I gotta see this in
strange,
person. I just
like
gotta see this in person.
you're like, is this skin? Is this a body? Is this a plant? Is this an animal? I can't tell. Yes, that's where I want you to live. In like
Love
this
that. I love that.
strange ecosystem almost of
Well, this leads right into my next question because one of the things I thought about when I was looking at your work is that your work takes time to look at. You
yeah.
need to just, at least for me, I need time to look at it and kind of take it all in and see the connections and that sort of thing. So, especially with all the different colors and textures and like the shoe thing, who knew until you really look at it? So, when you're designing, what takes priority for you? Is it texture, color, something else I'm not picking up on?
Yeah, it really depends. Like there's so many parts of the making process. Like when I think
Yeah.
about like how I make my work, there's like a foraging step, there's a gathering step where I have to gather all the stuff and then I stack it or pile it and maybe I have an idea that's dominating. Like I need all these materials to be related conceptually in some way. Um, or whatever, like so there's a gathering step and then I usually have some kind of skinning where I'm building around the things to coalesce them into a solid form and then I revise forever. I cut, I change, turn it upside down. I'm just playful with it. So at any point in the process, the the individual sculpture will become more apparent to me, like what direction. But it is interesting that you say color because that's critical to me. And I learned early on in my grad experience when I was trying to figure out like why these materials and not these materials. What are the rules for this?
Hmm.
I was trying to understand myself, um, as we do in graduate, that era of intensity. And one of the things I realized quickly is that I organize my materials often by color. So,
Oh, okay.
so I do care very much about the way it looks and how the different materials exist physically and the way that the color is present. And I taught color theory for a while and I so miss it sometimes. And we do, in my fiber classes, we do a color of the week. And we focus on that color. We wear that color, we eat that color, we pay attention to get our color antennas up, and we really try to pay attention to what a color does so we can have a good conversation about how to use it effectively as artists. Because I think color is one of the loudest communicators of a mood or sensation or feeling and a great access point to what we're doing in an artwork. So if you like my Baylor fiber Instagram is heavy with color posts where we're wearing our outfits um, for the color days. So color is critical also. I'm very
I
both,
love that.
both
Color
and.
for a week. I might have to try that once just to see what that would be like. Oh, that would be amazing.
You
I
should
want to
try
come
it.
take your class. Okay.
Just focus on it.
I'm
Yeah.
moving to Texas so I can take your class.
Yes.
Okay.
Love to have you.
Well, it's so funny because that's kind of my next question because I was wondering, are you ever working on something and you think, I need plain weave right here? Do you ever have moments like that, or is it more trial and error? And
Yeah, yeah. So sometimes I'm like, yes, where's that weave? Or sometimes I'm like, okay, Tina, your job for this sculpture is to use everything that's left over from teaching demos and scraps for the semester. And then that couples with like, I would take a walk and I have a conversation with something, and then I'm like, okay, I want this material to be in dialogue with these things. So there's something really interesting about the work that's made at the same time and how they kind of cross dialogue with each other about that era.
yeah,
Um, and then what else was I going to say? I don't know what I was going to say.
we'll get to it. We'll get to
We'll
it.
get to it. We'll get to it.
Well, let's look at another piece. This is an installation and it's called Squaring the Circle. And before we talk about the work, I want you to talk about the title because I read you did an interview about this and it was fascinating because I have never squaring the circle. I've never heard that term before, but it means something, right?
Yeah, yeah. So this was at a show from, let's see, what's the date? 2016 again. So this is in LA at the Los Angeles Municipal Art Gallery. And the space has all this geometry. It's across a like courtyard park type area from a Frank Lloyd Wright house. So
Oh,
there's all this geometric um, squares in the ceiling. So I was like really like taken by the particularity of the space and the architecture when I had the opportunity to do this show. So I was just kind of doing research and thinking about how my work are so organic in an architectural space, that contrast, that heavy contrast. So I happened upon something called squaring the circle, where this was a math problem in antiquity where they were the challenge was to create a circle and a square of the same size, the identical size, using a compass and a straight edge. That was the challenge. And it ultimately was an impossible thing to do. You can't do it. So it ended up being squaring the circle, ended up being a way to talk about a metaphor of something that was impossible. And I just like, I'm like, that sounds really exciting to me. So I use that as kind of the structure for me to think about making three different attempts at having my work be the circle, the organic, which is obviously not a circle. So already we're taking liberties here within this architectural space. So I was trying to be like, can I make like I'm imagining, can I make my sculpture a square? Let me try one way. Let me try another way. Let me try another way. So I tried three different sculptural strategies to imagine some kind of square happening with these organic forms. So you see here, these are all these individual hanging sculptural works that I placed in a grid hanging. So attempt one was like, okay, let's try hanging them all in a grid. Is it a square now if they're hanging in like a square like configuration? And then I tried connecting things in a square, and then I tried using the architecture of a wall to create an environment that was held in half the square was the architecture, and half the square was panels of fabric sewn together and sculptures sewn together. And then after the show, I would cut them apart and reimagine them in some new way.
Wow. Well, I have to tell you, I've never done an installation. I have no idea how you approach this. So I'm going to just ask kind of stupid question is how do you start with an installation? I mean, what is the first steps? Do you draw something out? You just start making pieces and know they go together? I mean, this probably could be a 3 hour discussion, but if you could, in a few
Yeah.
minutes, let us know,
Yeah.
how do you approach designing an installation?
Yeah, so for me, the first step in thinking about an installation is really figuring out spending time in the space wherever
Mhm.
that installation is going to live, and allowing that space to inform how I think about how to engage with it. So squaring the circle was so much inspired by the architecture of the space and allowing that to push me. And then it helps me a lot to have some kind of structure like squaring the circle has, where I'm like, okay, this is what I'm going to do, this and this, some kind of loose structure. So I'm going to pretend how can I pretend these organic things become geometric? How can that's the challenge. So I give myself some kind of structure. And then I play, and I just have to be open to whatever happens in the space, which is always a challenge of time, and other things. I just thought of something. We just had an artist do an exhibition in our gallery at Baylor. Her name is Debbie Carlson, and she also works in fiber sculpture. And one of the ways she described the difference, which I'm going to share because I think it's in a beautiful way of talking about it. She talks about her sculpture work, these discrete objects. She thinks of them as a period. And for her, she thinks of the installations as a question mark. And I think that's really interesting. So there is something about the installation that it's more vulnerable, it's more unknown. And I love the way it can revitalize even the way that I make a singular object later in my studio. So installations create this unknown like energy and excitement, but it's really scary. I sometimes don't even know if it is scary. It's hard for me to invite people to my installation shows because I don't know what it will be, and I don't know if it'll be good, and I don't know if I want them to see it. But you just have to do it, and it's just part of the fun and the joy and the surprise of making work in this way. Highly recommend that you just try it, or even just look around in a space when you're thinking about your making, and how something could be specific and custom, and how could it live better on purpose because it's in that particular location, and how that location impacts what that object is and how it behaves.
Wow. Well, you kind of answered my next question, which is kind of doing an individual versus doing a whole installation. It just sounds like there's just so much energy involved, it sounds like, in trying to do the installation and so many places where that energy can go.
Yeah, there's a lot of just natural limits when you're building something in three-dimensional space. Like there's just the limit of like what fits in my car.
Oh,
Installation
good
at a
point.
certain scale, like based on limitations. These practical limitations are
Yeah.
fantastic. Like what do I like? I love like installations. It can be like, okay, what do I have in my studio right now?
Hmm.
And there's something wonderful about like, okay, I have a show coming up. I have a deadline. What can I finish in that amount of time? There's something great about a gallery exhibition where I can see the work in a new way. It's really hard to see what I'm making in the chaos of the studio. So an installation is an opportunity to see it in a different way. And I'm really grateful for those opportunities where the work can live there. And then I can take the work apart and totally change my mind later.
Oh,
Oh,
yeah.
there's no like, it's okay. It can become something new. It's almost living in that quality of the sculpture and the way that I make it.
Well, the next question I have is about a New York piece. This is called the basket window, and it's called a mix, maybe we would call it a mixed media. And would you, some people don't quite understand what mixed media means. Can you talk a little bit about your interpretation of mixed media? What would that be? Like if you're going to enter a show with mixed media, what do you think that they are looking for?
Well, I think one of the great things about fiber is a bridge. I think fiber can be a really wonderful bridge between different materials playing together and getting
Uh-huh.
complex and interesting. So I think of mixed media as different things, different types of materials, contrasts coexisting together. If a regular weaving might be primarily composed of yarns, and the difference is a subtlety of is it wool, is it silk? How, how is it dyed? This is the difference. But what happens when you throw in a shoelace, or the tape from a old VCR, yeah, what is that?
Hmm.
The cassette tape, like that becomes anything that's long and skinny can be woven. So suddenly that over under structure can take on really different life when we mix things together. So in some ways, mixed media is allowing us space to focus in on the material stories in the work and really hone our attention to what those things existing together might offer us um, meaningfully. Uh, so, so this sculpture I mean, this is, believe it or not, I'm always trying. Early on, I was trying to make a basket. I really was trying to make a basket.
I think it
And
looks pretty good. That's a pretty good basket.
I was like, I want to just make a basket, but I kept like really loving this like almost like floral feeling, and I couldn't go up. I couldn't go up. I couldn't make it a traditional basket. I had to like have this like flowy freedom to play. So I give myself usually some kind of challenge, and then I observe myself not being able to fulfill it, and then
Now,
be
let me clarify before you go on. This
yes,
isn't because you didn't have the skill. This is because the artist in you said, no, 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 that's not the way to go. Right? Right?
yes, yes.
Okay.
I was like, no, I'm too dazzled by this other thing that's happening. I
You
need
were
to
that kid that didn't
follow.
color inside the lines in school, and the teacher said you can't use that color, and you did it anyway, right?
Dang it. Yes, I'm too dazzled by this color. It's everything to me right now. So I love right now probably one of my favorite processes in fiber, and it changes all the time, depending on what conversation I'm having and happening and what's going on right now. But right now I'm really interested in baskets, and I have to make a basket every couple of weeks or some kind of using those techniques. So it also is connected to teaching. So this sculpture really makes me think of teaching at Baylor. And my students, because my students' materials are in this object. That red string was part of an installation by one of my students for their final project.
Oh.
Uh, I have a bag structure with a stuffed animal that's stuffed in one of these sections. That was another student learning how to sew. So it's also like the story of folks exploring new processes and learning how they work and what they can do. Um, and that object being more about the shape it makes than being able to perceive what its previous use was. Um, yeah, and
Mm.
just can I attach this? What happens when I do that? How does I don't know if I love the way that section's coming out. Let's put something else over the top of it, but maybe make a hole so I can still see that a little bit. So it's about layering and building and materials. Um, and this, of course, this is operating like on a stretched support. So we can't think about that kind of structure without thinking about painting and how a painting is built. And fiber is the beginning of a painting. Fiber is this before it gets paint, it's canvas. Fiber is before.
Hmm.
And so I like that sort of complexity, even like traditional art conversations of painting and sculpture, how fiber is everywhere all at once and part of all of it in a beautiful way.
Well, the other thing I really loved about your work is when we talk about mixed media, is the use of the contrasting hard and soft. And we mentioned that earlier. And I just saw that again and again in your work, whether it's a stick and then I noticed that you take soft and make it hard. Like you seal it or you coat it or whatever. So is that soft hard contrast kind of a an essential, or am I just making a big deal about it?
Yeah,
Or
no, I think that's a really important contrast in the work. I think
yeah.
it's kind of like the way our human bodies are, at the core, we're a bone, and then we have tendons and softness and skin and hair. So I'm constantly inspired by just the way that biological things around me are, and I'm just imagining my own kind of ecosystem or building of a thing where something grows and solidifies. And then like time happens and it starts to decay. Maybe something happens where it something gets worn down and then turns soft and then floats away and then births a seed to something else. Like I'm really thinking about kind of this ecological imagination with the work and um, because of the my own body and the scale of myself walking around and engaging with the world, the hard and soft is just a really compelling conversation
Oh,
about
yeah.
being human. It's architecture, but then like all the textiles that, the textiles of our bedding and our chairs and covering our bodies and our clothing, all of that is existing in these rigid rooms in square shapes and like it's a very natural um contrast. Yeah.
I want to talk about outside your work. And I thought this was just amazing. And I really admire you for doing this, is that you started and you're still directing a mentorship program. Now, this is a huge undertaking. I know it takes a lot of your energy and your time and your focus. So, why put this much energy into other artists? This isn't about you promoting you. This is about promoting other artists. So, first, tell us about the program, if you would, and then answer my question of why.
Yeah. So the mentorship program was something that I did during COVID.
Oh,
Um,
okay.
and my current way of engaging with mentorship is really about the classroom work that I do with my students. But I guess I feel like there's something about fiber that's that you can't own it. You can't, there's like almost a generosity built in the material. It's about sharing. It's about offering up these amazing, ingenious methods of making to others. So I have I have benefited so much from my education and having these opportunities. I'm the first generation in my family to go to college, and it was a very meaningful thing for me. So I guess I feel that if there's anything I can do to offer other people, I want that. I want more of that. I want a world that looks like that. As artists, we get to think about what is better. What do I want the world to
Yeah.
be like? What is that? And to me, better is engaging with and caring about the future. And um, I don't feel a proprietary like thing about the work. I know that my Tina-ness is going to flow out of what I make. I have no fears about that. So we all could be making the same material process and it can't help it. My Tina-ness must come out. And same with your Kathy-ness. It will come out and it needs to. And I guess I don't subscribe to a fear-based um, thinking, but more of an abundance. So investing in others makes the world more what I hope it to be. And it's good for us to be around people that are different, different generations, and allow that to push us and change us and grow us in exciting new ways. So something about making a sculpture makes me a better human being and a better neighbor. So I don't get to stop doing that. Because it's inconvenient. And fiber kind of lends itself to a really easy way to be generous and offer up these materials to new audiences. It's exciting. So I just got to. I have been given, and now I must give back to.
Oh, I love that. That's wonderful. Um, so you are a faculty member at Baylor. You've talked some about that, but I always curious when I talk to people in, especially on the university level, because there's quite a responsibility at that level in your teaching. How do you find that balance of your creative energy for your students and your class and for you? Is that ever a problem, or what's that like for you?
Yeah, I mean, there's a lot of tension in that. This work-life balance, it doesn't matter what field you have, there's a lot
Yeah.
of tension there,
Yeah.
and like I'm all art all the time. So it's a lot of intensity, not a lot of chill. Um, so I guess for me, I'm not sure that I have figured it out, but I think I'm constantly trying to figure out how to have a sustainable life where I can be creative as much as I can and invest in others and what's healthy look like. So for me, that's ended up being a lot this following this cycle of academia. I love the cycles where, for me, every fall I teach weaving. So in the fall, I weave, and I get into thinking about weaving, and I fall in love with it all over again. And every semester I teach dye, and I have a cycle of techniques I teach. And then in the spring, I teach non-woven fiber structures. So in that time, I get to explore basketry and crochet and felting, and making nets and all these. And then I remember how much I love all of those things, So I get to like have this natural cycle, and then I love to like try new things and learn new things. This year, I learned how to use an inkle loom, and I'm obsessed. I'm making shoelaces. I brought it on the plane. So like there's just constantly this wonderful rotation. So I look at it as, for me, balance is overlap and just being open to the material magic of the moment. And I just, for my work, I'm just constantly making stuff. And I don't have to worry about it being art until I have a show and I need to figure that out. And I'm making stuff. I make a weaving, I make some crochet, I do some felting, and then I'm making a thing. And I'm always have 100 things going on at the same time. And the fiber guides the way with the labor and the steps. And there's always a step, and there's always something to be rinsed, and there's always something to be set up, not to warp the loom again. As long as I just follow these like beautiful cycles that are really natural in fiber and natural in a teaching schedule. And those things have really helped me find some balance. But also just like art is really good about part of what being an artist is learning about how your brain works and understanding yourself more and more. So it's custom and different for every single person. So you have to find your own like balance. And for me, I always like to have my hands busy. That's just me. And that's my husband's also an artist. He actually did the painting behind me. But he does really different type of work where he doesn't like to be busy all the time. He likes to work in bursts of energy and like
Ah, okay.
one at a time. And I work on lots. So um, I guess I would advise artists of all types to just kind of remember that it's about your own brain and learning and understanding how you are at your best self and where's the balance in that, because it's not going to look the same for me as it might look for you in your work.
Ah, that's wonderful. So what's next for you?
Oh, I am right now working on a show that I'm going to do in January. It's called Greetings from the Regenerative Aesthetics Playground. It's going to be an installation. I'm excited. So I'm working on that show right now.
And
I'm
where is that going to be?
That's going to be at Tarleton State University in a town called Stephenville here in Texas.
Okay.
So it's in a university gallery, and I'm excited to work on that. And then I am also so excited to be the juror for our next convergence in mixed media. So I really would encourage all folks listening, like, I really think about the idea of being a juror as a space for me to pull out the conversations that we're having as makers
Uh-huh.
around fiber and mixed media, and I want to show through what we have in this exhibition what cool things fiber can do materially. So please don't hesitate to apply. I know it's always scary to like submit things, but I think it can be hard to apply when it's such a short run of a show. But Convergence is a place where people that love and care about fiber and this discipline um, are having a conversation about what it means and what it can do and what it can be. So I'm really, really excited about participating in Convergence and
Mhm.
some of you, and having this exhibition about fiber and materiality and mixed media. And I'm also doing a session about art statements. So I'll be sharing a little bit about what I've learned about how to play well in an art context, if that's interesting to you, and what really helps the statement to resonate with others and what I've learned from teaching students, like some of those simple mistakes that really make your statement start to sound like a student rather than an artist. So I'll share some tips and tricks and kind of talk through that in my session at Convergence. So,
Oh, I can't wait. Now, are you going to submit work?
I am probably going to submit. I'm probably to the small expression. I might try to get into some of them, but so there
Because
might you.
you've been in small expressions before, right?
I have. So hopefully something of mine will be a Convergence. That would be an ideal situation.
I'm sure it will be. How could it not? I'm
So
excited that you're going to be teaching, and I'm sure everybody who's watching will too. Your attitude is infectious. It's just exciting to be around. So I can't wait to see you at Convergence. So y'all keep that in mind as you get ready
come
to
find me, say
purchase your
hi
class. There you go.
in my class.
Um, we've got questions. So
Oh,
let's go to
wonderful.
questions. All right. Um, some of them are in chat. I think some people are having difficulty getting on chat for some reason. I don't know why. But let's start with Paula wants to know what's the appropriate size of Tina's favorite sculpture? And I will ask that another way of what's your favorite size to work in too?
I feel like my very favorite, if I'm being honest, my favorite scale that feels most appropriate is something that's like about my body size. So
Oh, okay.
Tina size. So I'm 5'9". So approximately about that scale. It's interesting how when I was a young artist, I just discovered like why am I making everything that's like the size of my body? I think that would be my ideal size. There's something that happens when we are engaging with something that like we're walking into a space and like my arm is the size and the sculpture has like a similar size. It can be a really interesting sensation that I'm interested in. So I think that's my very favorite. But again, the work is complicated and I kind of need all the scales to help me even appreciate the other scale, you know? Um, yeah. I've been making a lot of smaller work because of the the tenure process and shipping my work a lot. I can't
Oh,
afford to ship my body scale objects. So a lot of things I've been making lately are smaller, and I really want to figure out how to make littles. Like I make toys, and I'm not sure if I'm figuring it out. If it's I'm not sure I'm getting it yet, but I keep trying to make little sculptures as well. So I think scale is a really interesting element of art. Don't underestimate the question of scale in your making.
there you go. All right. Some of you've answered already. That's why I'm kind of skipping through them. Um, Everybody keeps asking about what do you choose for your materials? And I guess I'm kind of curious too. If you're walking around, what do you think are the characteristics you're looking for? Like,
Yeah. So one of the like I talked earlier about nylon and how
yeah,
complex it is and that complexity. And
it
I
makes
think
me want to go try some. I'm gonna have to try some of that.
it's a great material. It really
I
truly.
know. I
So I
think I
guess
have that hatred of all women of a certain age because we had to wear the stupid things.
right.
So anyway,
Right.
back to what you choose.
Yes. So that's part of why it's so interesting is like we hate it, but we like I don't, so
Yeah.
I'm drawn to materials that hold that kind of complexity that live in a really weird way where we don't even know if we like them or not. Like, do we love them? Do
Oh.
we like that kind of complexity? I really love these found objects and anything that whenever people start to hate on something, I guess I'm drawn to it. So I think in the mini fiber conversations, I think natural materials are prioritized. And of course they are. Silk is amazing. Wool is amazing. I get it. But I guess part of me is like, but I also want to find a way to love and care for this crappy acrylic yarn that is everywhere in a thrift store. And how can I love and celebrate what that can do as well? Um, I think so. I'm thinking a lot about. I use the word salvaged often to talk about my materials,
Uh-huh.
but I'm using it really broadly. So for me, salvaged is not just like picking up something off the road. It's also loving and caring for something that was discarded. And that thing could be discarded
Oh.
intellectually. So to me, in some circles, though I think it is definitely changing, fiber is underestimated and less than. And I say no. I say absolutely not. Fiber is amazing. So I think sometimes whatever people are less thanning, I want to spend some time looking at and trying to see and understand what it can do different on purpose. Like, so another example maybe from fiber would be, I think maybe crochet can be maybe sometimes less than. Like knitting feels like more elevated.
Yes, yes.
Crochet, like, so I love crochet so much. I love it. I teach it. New generations are all about crochet because of my work. Because I think crochet can do a lot of really cool things. It's a
Uh-huh.
looped structure that's flexible and relatively quick, and it's one needle, and it can be easier to learn. And I can draw on top of it. I can attach things. I can make form. It's really exciting to me. So because people less than it, I'm like, hmm, maybe we can,
Maybe.
how can I spend time with it and learn to love it more? And through my loving it, maybe help someone else to see what it can do different. I mean, it's a structure of loops. I can tie things to every little hole. I can stretch. It's portable. I can take it on a plane. It's a lot of things. So there you go. Salvaged.
Well, I'll tell you, it's so funny you said that because when you said I teach crochet, I was like, oh yes. And I was thinking, I bet I could put weaving and crochet together like she does. So it got me thinking, because I'm the same way. I'm not a knitter. The gods do not want me to knit, but I can crochet and I like it. And I don't care it's the ugly stepchild. I like it.
It's amazing.
It
Crochet is amazing.
is. Good stuff. All right. Um, Oh, this is a good question. And this again may be, you could be a whole class at Convergence and maybe is part of your class. Can you talk about how you apply or submit proposal for your installation and exhibits? Because it can't be like you make something and then submit it for an installation. You have to know what the installation is first, right? You have to know the place first, right?
Yeah. Proposals are so tricky. Like in some sense, the hard part is like it's like you have to show enough of an idea and have enough of a structure, but also have enough give in the structure to allow
Right.
for like the 2 years later that it actually happens and what you love then and how, be humane to yourself and how that changes. So I guess I think there's like I try to find a balance between some kind of structure and then what can I make a case for in my materials of like what I can execute, like what have I done before and how can I articulate an idea through my materials that I submit to something, what this idea is. So I don't know if that makes sense. So I just did a show called High Islands, and in
Right.
thinking about what that show is, I did this earlier work during COVID. So I had like a germ of it, like the beginning of it, the seed of the idea in a previous work that no one saw in COVID, where I was lonely. I put a bunch of highs, the word high, HI, on a bunch of sculptures and put them on these astroturf island things. And no one saw it. It was a post on Instagram. Like it did, but I was like, this is bigger than this post. And I want people to see this idea and I want to see what it looks like if I open it up to a broader thing. So that idea, the structure, this idea of high and island was
Mhm.
enough to be like a fertile space for me to imagine and enough for someone else to buy in on that and give me that opportunity, if that makes sense. So it's like this balance. I would love like just the idea of proposals and submission materials. That's a whole nother conversation, but I love having these kind of conversations. So come find me at Convergence. Let's talk. Let's have
There you
lunch.
go, Karen. Thank you, Karen. That was a great question because I wondered that too. It's like you decide things without knowing what you're doing, kind of thing. That's great. And she also asked, can you talk about how you finish your pieces? Some pieces appear to be more, and she has in quotation marks, finished than others, like with the stitching and how you decide where you finish stitching something to a larger piece. And then she says, thanks. Good question, Karen.
Yeah, thank you. Thank you for looking and paying attention so intently. So the finish often, this is not the best answer maybe, but I run out of time. So whenever the deadline is, it's an opportunity for me to like be ambitious and try something and try to make it. And this past show I was making right alongside my students. They're making their project. I'm trying to make my show. And I remember having a conversation with one, like, I'm just trying to like, I know that I will figure out this object. I just don't know if I will figure it out before the deadline, but I'm going to try really hard. And if it doesn't work, another thing too I want to say is that experience is part of it. So the more times I do this, the better I am at gauging like, I'm not going to get that done. That's not going to happen. time to put my energy over here, you know. But the finish is always a challenge. I think that we all have tendencies as artists. I think I tend to just keep going until the second before the deadline is, just because that's my nature. I'm just, oh, let me just add something else. I found this thing yesterday. Can I just add it? Yes, I
I
can.
worry about people who are not like that. It's like, you mean now everybody is like that? We are almost out of time, but I do have to mention something. It was in the chat and it was hilarious. And since you said your husband did the painting behind you, everybody commented how your scarf and your painting go together. Nicely done. Nicely done. They were
Thank
talking
you.
about color and how color must be important to you because of your scarf. So anyway, I just wanted to mention that.
Awesome.
I do want to thank you so much for being on here today. This was fun, and this is one I'm going to go back and when I feel like my Kathy-ness is not flowing, I'm going to go back and watch this again because I think it will help my Kathy-ness. I love that.
Wonderful.
Mandy,
Thank
you
you.
got to do that too. Your Mandy-ness has to be flowing. We do thank you for being on here, and we want to thank your sponsor. Your sponsor was on here today chatting too.
Oh,
Thank you so much, Lee. Oh, I want to say that we have your website here. Be sure you go check out her website. All kinds of cool things. And if you haven't chosen your classes for Convergence yet, this may be a class you want to do. I would love to sit on this and listen. So go check her out, tinalinvillestudio.com. You can learn more about her. You can see more of her work. And then we do want to thank our sponsor, Lisa. Thank you so much for being a Textiles and Tea angel and sponsoring today. You sponsored a great one. This was a wonderful episode today, so enjoyable. So thank you so much. If you would like to sponsor an episode of Textiles and Tea, or your guild, or a group of you want to get together, your business, or you have an event coming up and you want to get some advertising in, this is a great way to do it. You can go online to weavespindye.org and purchase a date. If you're looking for a specific date or a specific person or something, call the office and talk with us. We'll be glad to help you with that. So again, thank you again, Lisa. We do appreciate it. Um, we have a special going on that we are offering for the holidays. If you wanted to see some of the things in Spinning and Weaving Week and you didn't get to and you didn't sign up for it, but you meant to, or you heard some wonderful things were happening and you missed it, here's your chance. It's 50% off of the Spinning and Weaving Week video library, including Art Sparks. Until January the 9th. You have to purchase it before the end of the year, but it runs until January the 9th. So it'd be $15 for the Spinning and Week videos for a member. I'm so sorry, it's so dry. And $30 for non-members. There's 39 sessions that you get to watch for that. You can also do Art Sparks. It's another fee. It's like $5 to $20, but that's also 50%. And like I said, it ends, excuse me, you can purchase it December 31st, and then you can watch it till January the 9th. I'm so sorry. Um, so anyway, great opportunity to get to see all the things that you missed at Spinning and Weaving Week. And there were some wonderful videos. The tours alone were worth watching. So check it out. Go online. You will also be should be getting an email, I think, is going out about it. And you need to use the code. And I believe the code here is in chat. Yes, right here. It's in the chat, so copy and paste that, and you can get the 50% off. Jump on that. It's often be a great Christmas gift if you want to look for a gift for a fiber person. This may be something they would love, especially if they're just getting involved in it. All kinds of great information. So check that out just until December 31st. So be sure you jumped on that. We want to thank everybody who has joined or donated. It's a way to support HTA, and we appreciate that you do that. Your money goes toward more programming that we've been trying to do, and it helps us sit around and go, what would be a great thing to do next? Because our goal for our membership is to provide you information and support the arts, and that's what we're trying to do. And you help us do that by joining or donating. And you can go to weavespindye.org and you can join or donate or both. They're online. Easy peasy. If you missed an episode, you can go back and watch it again. I do want to watch this again. Again, if I'm losing my Kathiness, I need to go back and get that. And you can watch it for 30 days on Facebook. And then after that, you can watch it on YouTube. If you like watching on YouTube, subscribe because when you do, you'll get a notice that a new episode's been uploaded. Okay? Next week, we have Anthony DiRenzo. He is a delight. You're going to enjoy him. I want to wish everybody happy holidays. If you're celebrating Christmas, I hope you have a wonderful Christmas and Santa finds you. And have a wonderful holiday week. Thank you so much for watching. We'll see you next Tuesday. Happy tea.